And so what we're going to start doing today is we're going to be covering how an individual could file actual use applications. Okay, well, let's get started. So we're going to use the same image that we were using before, but we're going to file it from an individual's perspective. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by going to the filing page. Now we're going to do a word mark today. There's a lot of good reasons why you might want to protect the words on your clothing. It can even actually be a slogan. As you can see, this version actually also has a slogan in it. So it's the adibiip group, protecting innovators. So the first things to do is go to the page. So let me share my screen. I'm going to start just from a Google search. So in case you forget the website, all you have to do is type in USPTO, file, and trademark. And it'll be the first hit, apply online. So once you click here, you're going to want to click on initial application forms. Now, one thing I'm going to point out is that you have to be logged in order for this to work. So I logged in beforehand. So when I click start your application in TEAS, it's going to take me directly into this page. Now, again, if you don't have a USPTO.gov account, they're really, really easy to make. It's really easy to create. But once you make that account, you'll be able to log in and get to this page, okay? But you won't be able to get into this page until you actually create a USPTO.gov account. The TEAS Plus application is $50 cheaper than the TEAS Standard. It's $225 instead of $275. However, as we're going to see as we do this application, the TEAS Plus gives you less options for actually entering in the goods and services description for your mark. So we're going to do it from the perspective, again, of an individual. So this is your clothing brand that you're selling and putting out on the market. And we're going to do TEAS Plus. So we're going to click continue. Now, the first bit is to get the ownership. So the owner of the mark in this case is going to be an individual, namely me. So you're going to enter in your name. You do have to indicate your citizenship. When you click individual, it's going to prompt you to do so. So we're going to pick United States and your mailing address. Now, remember, this is actually all public record, so keep that in mind. I have a co-working space that I'm going to use just to keep my information a little more private, so just keep that in mind. Now, if you would like, you can also enter your domicile. You just have to uncheck this box here, and when you enter in this box here, it's going to remain confidential, so keep that in mind. That's one possibility is you could, if you wanted to enter a domicile address, you could do it right here, but I'm going to uncheck this box. Now, you do need to input an email address. So I'm going to just use my work email. But again, email address is required. Phone number is not required. However, if I fail to enter a phone number, I'm going to get a warning. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Again, if you have a website, you can upload it. You can enter it in here in this box. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And once I get to the next page, it's going to give me this warning. Telephone number has not been entered. But remember, my email address has been entered. So with that, the examiner will be able to contact me if they want to. So here we're going to enter in. So let me show you the mark that we're going to be doing today. So it is a mark on this face mask. Let me do open link in new tab. There we go. Okay. So in this hypothetical example, I'm selling this mark right here. So I'm going to try to protect the text on the logo. So adibiip group. So that's my brand that I want to protect. The protecting innovators bit I could actually also include. That's essentially a bit of a slogan. So that's acceptable. So I'm going to go with a standard character mark. Remember, this is a Section 1A application. This is how you would do a full application. The Section 1A applications, remember, turn into actual registered marks. So just keep that in mind, assuming they pass through the examination stage and publication stage. So we're going to go ahead and click Add Goods and Services. Now, remember, we're doing the TEAS Plus application, so we're actually going to be a little limited. All right, so we're going to click Search, and we're going to type in face mask, and we're going to notice right away that we're actually quite limited in terms of our options here. So here we have toys, here we have swimming. Basically, protective gear is going to be under Class 9, and then medical-related gear is going to be in Class 10, and then there's this toys are usually in Class 28. So just keep that in mind. We're obviously going to be in this headwear gear right here. So knit face mask being headwear. Again, not really my preference. It would have, if I was truly following this for myself, I would have selected the standard application. That way I could describe my face mask the way I want to describe them. I think that's worth the extra $50. So we're going to click Insert Checked Entries, and then we proceed to the next step of the application, which is to assign the filing basis. So remember, in order to file a Section 1A application, you have to submit your proof of use in commerce at the stage of filing. So for intent to use applications, you do not have to do that. However, for intent to use applications, eventually, after you go through examination, after you go through the publication period, you'll get a notice of allowance. And at the notice of allowance stage, you're going to have to submit proof that you're using your mark in commerce. So just keep that in mind. Eventually, to get a registered mark on the principal register, you're going to have to show proof of use in commerce. Now, the Section 1A application, you do it all up front. For the Section 1B application, you're going to do it later, assuming you haven't started using your mark in commerce yet. So this could be labels, again, packaging. We did a whole episode on what acceptable specimens are. Actually, I think we did two, didn't we? I think we did 2 episodes. So we're going to click Section 1A today. So we're going to actually have to submit our proof of use. But remember, here's a face mask. So all you have to do is show a specimen for one type of good. In this case, here's but for each class. Okay, so remember that. So if I had selected class 9, I would have to submit proof that I had submitted a class 9 specimen. So again, the text appears on the upper right or upper left of the face mask. And so all we have to do is submit this image, and that should be an acceptable specimen because it's stitched to the goods itself. So we're going to click Attach Specimen. I've prepped this beforehand, but remember, acceptable specimens are PDFs or JPEGs. So keep that in mind. In this case, I am going to upload my JPEG. Here we go. So it's a JPEG of the specimen, and I'm going to click Attach. And it's attached. So you have to make sure that it actually shows up here. Otherwise, if it did not, that means it did not attach correctly. But here, we're good. It's been attached. So we're going to click Return to Form. Now we have to write a short description of what the specimen is. So in this case, we're going to type in a photograph showing the applied for goods bearing the mark on a label stitched to the goods. There's our description. And first use, I'm just going to say the first use of the mark anywhere. I'm just going to say 01/06/2020. And first use in commerce, I'm going to do everyone's favorite, tax day 4/15/2020. Okay, so once I click Assign Filing Basis, we're going to get to this stage here. And once we're here, we know we are almost all the way there. So we're going to click Continue. So now we've shown ownership, we've shown the specimen and the mark. So we're halfway done. So here I'm just going to enter in docket number. This is just for internal tracking purposes. In the email addresses section, remember, you can enter up to 4 email addresses. So I highly encourage you guys to upload if you have assistants or team or anyone who helps you manage or keep track. It could be a business partner, assistant, whoever it may be. In this case, I'm going to put Victoria. So Victoria, let's see, let's hit her email and click Continue. And remember, you can enter multiple addresses if you want here. Just have to separate them by commas or semicolons. Okay, so we're going to assign this application directly. So I'm going to select. So the first checkbox is just saying you understand this is a Section 1A application, meaning that you're already using your mark in commerce. So just keep that in mind. If it was Section 1B, it's actually the same checkbox. This whole section here is the same for both Section 1A and Section 1B applications. So just keep that in mind. Now, the second checkbox is just saying that to the best of our knowledge, we have a right to use this mark, so there isn't a prior user that we know of. This third checkbox here is saying that there's factual support for the statements that we make in this application. So in this case, factual support would be, well, this is a true and correct copy of a photograph of one of my face masks. So this fourth checkbox basically is saying that you are signing under penalty of perjury. So you understand that any false statements could result in fine or imprisonment. So here we sign our name. TEAS makes it really easy. all you have to do is enter your name within slashes. That's kind of weird. I'm not sure why that popped up. And then it autofills the date. If you don't include slashes in here, if you miss one, for example, you're going to get a warning, and it's actually not going to let you validate the application. So keep that in mind. You have to actually include your signature within slashes for this to be valid validation and valid signature. So again, name, we're going to enter in last name, first name, same format, and then position. In this case, I'm just going to say owner. In past episodes, we were doing it on behalf of our company. So in this case, we're doing it on behalf of ourselves. So we're actually the individuals that are putting this onto the market. So we're going to call, so we're the owner. And for our phone number, again, remember this is public record. So you're going to want to consider that, of course, whenever you upload your phone number. So just keep that in mind. Now, here, this is the last page. So this gives you an opportunity to actually review the application and to make sure that everything is correct. So we're going to click input, and we're actually going to read through it, make sure everything looks good. This is the proof that you're actually using the mark in commerce. These are the two dates that you have to provide: first use anywhere and the first use of in commerce. Now, I didn't talk about this before, but it's worth mentioning right now. The first use anywhere date, sometimes people use the date they first buy a domain name or create a brochure, whatever it may be, the first date that they hold, that they put that name out there, not necessarily tied to a good or service, not necessarily in relation to a direct sale, but the first day that they actually start using that name and put it out in the world. The first use in commerce, on the other hand, it's really important to get this date right. So this is the date that you first use the mark to sell your goods or services in interstate commerce. So remember, the best proof of that, it would be a receipt to an out-of-state customer. So it's really important to understand that. Now, this description, again, if the examiner has an issue with your specimen description, then they'll come back at you and they'll want you to update that. But this specimen should be acceptable because it's a face mask and it has a label that's stitched to the goods. So I don't foresee any issue with this particular specimen. Now, here's our name, here's our docket information, our email address. Now, remember the TEAS Plus, so we save $50, so keep that in mind. So the TEAS Plus, a little cheaper, however, we have less latitude. So we're stuck with this canned description, the knit face mask being headwear. I don't particularly like it. I don't think Victoria likes it either, but buys you a couple lunches. All right, so here is our signature information. We're validated. So now all we have to do is go back. Now remember, if anything is wrong with this application, all we had to do was click on go back to modify, and we'd actually be able to modify our application. So keep that in mind. Any mistakes, TEAS keeps a session of your entire application. So it's really easy to go back and forth and make modifications. Now we're going to click on the mark button. So here you go. This is the image version of the word mark, of the text for our application. So I'm going to click go back here. We can take a look at our specimen. And here it is. So it's a JPEG. Here's the photograph. And we're going to click go back. And now we're good to go. So our application is ready to be submitted. Now, this last checkbox, I just want to reiterate, the reason why they have this checkbox here is because they want to make it clear that there are no changes allowed to the application, to the word. You can make amendments to the application, but you can't make changes to the actual word that you're submitting. So, for example, if I do not actually want to have this part of the slogan, the protecting innovators bit, I cannot change that after I submit. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, and one thing that I forgot to iterate in the last couple episodes is you can also save the form. So you're allowed to actually save this form if you need to, and then you can upload what's called it'll give you what's called a .obj file, and then you can upload that .obj file in the future to add it to the application. To upload it to the TEAS system, and it'll upload the application, and then you can go through it, make changes, and submit. So if we wanted to, we could download it, save it, and then file it tomorrow. All right, so I'm going to click Pay Submit. We're all done with our application. And when we do that, we're going to be taken to the payment page. Once you pay for this application, you will be able to download a PDF of the application, and you will have a serial number. That serial number will be tied to that application throughout the entire prosecution process, and will also be used to identify your registered mark post-registration. So just keep that in mind. So we're going to click the credit card, and we're going to input our credit card information. Again, it's 225. And once we enter in our information or our address and click Pay Submit, we're going to, again, get to that page where we can download the application. So that is how you file an application from start to finish, guys. So that's the TEAS Plus application for an individual on a word mark.